Am I in shot?
Yes. Yep.
Hey guys, I'm sideways, so you may have to scoot your phone over, but landscape's kind of the only way to go with this. But I'm doing a live paint. I'm here at a park. Excuse the wind if it's windy. I won't chat too much if it's hard to hear. But yeah, I'm just gonna do a live plein air painting. I want to call it like a demo, but mostly I'm just going to be doing the painting, and yeah, we'll see how it works out. I would have this on a tripod, but I'm using my tripod to hold this, so this is a little bit on the fly, but yeah, hopefully it's fun, and I hope you guys enjoy watching this come together. There's a Little League game in the background, so it's a beautiful day here, and I hope this goes well. Okay, so to talk a bit about my setup, the wind's not. I have here titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue green shade, phthalo green blue shade, and chromium oxide green.
Black. What spray bottle do you use?
Oh yeah, this is, I'm not sure if y'all can hear me, but this is just an Amazon spray bottle, and it's just a mister, so if you squeeze it, it's a continuous spray. Big water droplets will break down your paint, and that is a good way of just misting it so it doesn't break down the acrylic paints. do kind of a talk through at the end. I'm just afraid that with the wind, you guys may not be able to hear me very well. I have earbuds in, but it's not the best audio.
The audio is actually really clear.
Oh, sweet. Great. Thanks. So I'm starting in with the darkest values first, and then I'm going to slowly stair step my way up, I think, in value. Or at least that's my strategy to begin with. We always end up switching out. You usually don't mist this much, but with the wind and the heat, you just have to keep on top of it.
I really like this box. What is it called?
Yes, I thank you. This is the New Wave Yugo palette. So if you go to Instagram search bar and type in New Wave art, I think it pops up. And yeah, I love this. It's like magnetically. That's how it works. It's like it has magnets in it. Yeah, I've had it for a couple years now, and I love it.
Happy Mother's Day, Sarah, and my fellow art moms.
Aww. Yeah, happy Mother's Day to you guys. It always sneaks up on me how quick Mother's Day happens.
You have just water in the bottle, right?
Yes, just water. Just water. Yep, just tap water. I'm sure there's other things you can put in there. I've just never experimented with it. I honestly don't use it very much in studio. It's just when you're plein air painting your acrylics dry so fast. It's kind of a necessity. What I'm trying to do right now is, in real life, if you look over, you see all this detail with the Little League game happening, and there's like a sports complex, and I'm working really hard to just break it down into its most largest values and forms. It's easy, especially as a new painter, to see something that's very complex and go, oh, okay, I'm going to give it, I'm going to paint and depict and render what I'm looking at so that people understand what I'm painting. But as someone who's painted for a while, I know that that's a trap. And so I'm really just trying to, if I blur my eyes, it's like green and purples back there. So I'm trying to just block in general shapes, and then I can always go back and further clarify later. But if you start in with the detail, especially something in the background, it gets really muddy really fast.
Is there a preferred water temperature in the bottle?
Not that I know. I would assume not very hot or not very cold, but I haven't done any like formal research on that. But yeah, just room temperature tap water.
Why do you choose orange first?
Oh yeah. You can choose any color. I really like orange at this point just because it's kind of what I gravitate towards. It's a nice mid-tone value. But in college we were taught to prime our canvases with like a mid-tone gray, just to help us make better value choices right out of the gate. So what I mean by value is just not too light and not too dark. Sometimes when you start on white, it can be really hard to fine-tune your upper level values. As far as orange, classical painters have been priming with like siennas and different kind of natural tone oranges for a long time, or browns. I just really like painting with vivids, and so I do a vivid background. There's not a ton of reason other than just like style. I like it, and it's nice and warm. But you can do any. I know people who prime with teal, yellow, who prime with like collage work as their background. So it's really pretty limitless on what you choose. my baby out here with us right now. You can hear little baby noises.
Do you have a jar of water too to clean your brush?
You know what? I was just thinking about that because I've been painting with this whole brush. Normally I bring a jar of water, but we were in such a rush to make it here on time that that's the one thing I forgot. So I'm pretty committed at this point to painting the whole thing with this brush. But yeah, normally I have a little canister that I put my brushes in, you know, as I'm painting. And I'll usually paint with a few brushes when I'm doing plein air. Less brushes than I would in studio, but anyways, so the answer is I should, but on the way out I totally forgot. But I live like about a 3-minute walk from the park, so no worries. I'll just mist it really good and walk home and put it in my paint bucket when I get home.
Do people ever come up to you while you're painting?
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. Yeah, at this point I mean, I don't plein air all the time, but like if someone comes up, usually they just want to see what you're painting and they'll make a remark, but most of the time people are pretty friendly. They're just, what are you doing? You know, if that really intimidates you, first of all, most people are pretty nice, but you can always put up a little sign, or if you're really introverted, just like point to your earbuds, and most people kind of get the message. When I was in college, I had a bunch of paintings that were plein air due, and I was really stressed and working really hard to get them all done for critique, and I can remember putting on like big earbuds or big headphones and just pointing to it when people wanted to engage. But yeah, most people are friendly. But you also totally have the right to say, I don't want to talk right now, and that's fine too.
Have you tried golden, open, slowing, drying paints? If so, thoughts?
Yeah, I have. I did in college. When I was doing a lot of plein air in college, I used them. I like them. You know, I would rather everything dry fast and just work in layers at this point because I've just spent so many years painting that I've gotten good at just like leaning into the fact that it's going to dry fast, just put layers on. But when I was learning, I really needed the colors to not dry so fast because I was just slower. And for that, I was really glad that it was an option. But I find now that because I am able to work kind of fast enough, when I want to go back and layer, which is kind of the technique I use more frequently now, it just feels kind of sticky because it's mostly dry but not all the way dry. So that's why I don't use them very much anymore. I think if I was wanting to do something like that took a little more thought, I'm having to kind of work fast here, but if I wanted to really slow down and do something larger, I probably would just bring out oils at this point. But they're great for learning, and in my, whenever I'm doing workshops or something and someone's really having a hard time with acrylics, let's say they learned in oils and they're transitioning to acrylics, I will often suggest that series. And they have flow improvers that are like part of the open series that really help things slow down. It's good stuff. I recommend it for sure.
Where did you learn this layering technique?
In college, mostly. So my painting professor works in oils. He went to School of Visual Art in New York, and he learned in oils. He painted in oils, but because the college I went to had such poor ventilation, we had to do acrylics. And so the way I paint, I always think of it as kind of like acrylic oil hybrid. And in fact, when I do art shows, a lot of times people who aren't very familiar with my work will come up and they'll be like, "Oh, these are oils. This is great," but it's acrylics. Anyway, so the technique I think is like a little bit of like understanding of how oils work, plus the fact that acrylics dry so fast that I think it kind of lends itself to the medium. I think that's why so many people tend to struggle with acrylics, especially if they know oils first, because there's virtually no capacity for blending. And so you have to layer and like let completely dry and then go over it. So I think just the way the medium works sort of helps dictate that style. And so I feel like the layering technique is more just like surrendering to the process than it is like a real technique, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, layering out of necessity. Like I'm able to mix here because like I literally just put that down, but if I come back a minute later, it'll be gummy, and then 2 minutes later, that'll be completely dry. cadmium red, medium I think, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, green shade, phthalo green, blue shade, and chromium oxide. And those are the only colors. This is probably about as limited as a palette as I go, and honestly I'm kind of kicking myself for not bringing maybe ochre, yellow ochre. Kind of wish I had that. But yeah, it's pretty limited, but it works. So I was painting with a 8, I think filbert, and now I'm doing a size 4 brush. And I'd like to add, what I'm thinking now is I'd like to add some dimension to the trees, I'd like to refine the background, and I'd like to pull the saturation and value in the foreground up. So like I teach in my course, it's really important to sort of get this base layer down, because it's really from this point on that you're going to make those sophisticated decisions. And this is kind of the perk of painting with acrylic, is because at this point I'm not super committed to any of this, because I think I can show you, but like it's pretty much dry. So, you know, if I hated this stage, it would still be a step in the right direction, because now I have a general map of the value and color, and I'm just going to build off of that with this next round of investigation. So we try to be really non-judgmental in our language when we're painting. It's not like I messed up or I did bad, but like it's just about building placeholders for yourself, so that when you do go back, when you have more information on your canvas, you can make better decisions because you have more information. It's really hard to make decisions when you have a vivid orange background with blue lines. Relatively right, or relatively in the realm of like the right value and the right color. So, you know, even if I don't nail it, and I usually don't first pass, I'm just thinking, is this enough information to get me to where I need to go? And then with every layer I put on top of it, hopefully I get closer. You know? So it's just, it's like for me, like a good first layer is like it's 70% right. But sometimes it's not, and you can still have a really good painting even if you get the first layer wrong. It just adds like interest and like history to it, and I don't know, some of my best paintings have come from like a garbage fire underpainting. So it's less about like product, like I'm not like making a beautiful finished painting, and more about like I'm sitting here on a Saturday morning wondering where this process will take me, and if I end up with a cool painting, then that's really awesome and that's always fun. But if I don't, then it's fine too. maybe it's less of a problem with acrylics, or maybe I'm just not, like, I don't know, but I'm not noticing it just because I'm not very detail oriented. You know, maybe other than like commissions, or like if I really want to try to get an idea across, I'm not very precious with my painting. Like, I always kind of approach it like, I don't know, I guess there's some things I get caught up on, but like, yeah, I think the values do darken a bit in places, and especially with some pigments, but it doesn't ever like deconstruct my painting. I will say, because I use such a wide spectrum of saturation and value, that I wonder if like making those small observations is like a little less of a big deal in my work, just because of how saturated everything is. But I don't know. Well, now there's a duck. The nice thing about plein air painting is like sometimes you get a little bonus. Like, I picked this little spot out and there was no duck, and now there's a little duck sleeping in it. Oh my goodness. That's adorable.
Seems like you love the process of painting. How does someone learn to love it more than the outcome?
We learned you know, I had a few years where I really was just kind of painting as hobby, and it was like kind of the only thing in my life that I wasn't like doing for someone else or to like survive or like for my kids, or it was like my special time. And so I think because it was so special to me, like I didn't want to spend any of that special time doing anything for anyone else. Sounds really bad, but so I learned, like, you know, and this is after art school and stuff, but during that time I just learned to really be protective over it. And so I think having that time, and I know that that's totally like a privilege to be able to do that, but I think that time where it really was just like for me, and because I needed it and because I love to do it, I think that because I know what that feels like, because I know how lovely that is, and it doesn't mean that it's easy, like painting's easy at that point, but because I know how rewarding that sensation is, I know how to get back to that. So like, you know, I'm right now in the middle of a very, very busy season with my work, and that's great, but like I know what it feels like to paint for myself, and I'll miss that. I'll have that sensation of like, I need to make some work that's just for me, that I don't care if it sells, I don't care if anyone likes it, I don't care if it does well in the algorithm, I'm just doing it for me. And I think because I know what that feels like, I can get back to that. And like, so what I would say for someone else is like, you know, even if art is like your income, like try to find a little bit of time every week, or even just every month, I'm not sure how much time you have, but to make something just for yourself. Don't publish it, just do it because you love it, and see what that feels like to you. And I think the more you use that muscle, like the easier it becomes. Because at first it can feel really foreign. You're like, why am I making this? No one will buy this. Is this worth my time? I could be doing better stuff. But there's nothing better than like taking care of yourself. That's a good question.
Do you sometimes lack motivation to paint? And if so, what can help you get your motivation back? Love your work.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's tough to answer that because painting now is like, it's like my real deal job. So like it's a little bit different. I will say, yeah, like I had about a year and a half, almost 2 years between, like after I graduated and then before I started my practice, my daily painting practice, where I really struggled. And you know, motivation was less of like I just need to work harder, because I was working very hard during this time. It was on my job and my health and family and lots of stuff. And I think it wasn't until I started like kind of healing myself and realizing like I should value my needs and stuff like that, that I kind of gave myself permission to do art. Like I always like wanted to, and I felt bad about not doing it, but then like something would always come up that was more pertinent, or like that felt like a better use of my time, and so I neglected my art. And I just sort of said, oh, I'm being lazy. If I wanted it bad enough, I would do it. But it wasn't until I started doing kind of some work in like therapy and like self-reflecting and inner child work that I don't know, I started having a better picture of what my blocks were, and like I stopped calling myself lazy, because I wasn't lazy. I had legitimate things I needed to work through. That really helped me, and that was by far the most powerful work, you know. If executive dysfunction is part of like what's going on, you know, there's treatments and stuff that can help you come up with strategies. Like, I don't know, I really struggle with the idea of like being lazy. I don't think most people are lazy. I think it's just hard. It's hard to prioritize your art, especially in the beginning when it's not making money necessarily right away. You know, and now, like, because it's my job, it's not as hard. So I don't know, I would just be careful, and be careful the language you use about your practice. Like, if you're not painting, don't just call yourself lazy. Like, likely there's like a very real block in the way, and I think honoring that and like being kind to yourself, you know, it's counterintuitive. Our culture is very like, you know, if you want to do it, then just white knuckle your way there. But it was really through kind of cutting myself a break that I eventually got the bandwidth to have a very robust practice. It wasn't because I was so hard on myself until I did it. It was the opposite. So I don't know if that's helpful advice, but you know, I don't know. Good question.
Are you going to post the finished product on your feed?
Oh yeah, totally. I'm almost done. I'm kind of, now I'm just like putzing around. I'm really playing and seeing where I can sneak in color and where I want to get rid of things. But yes, I will. Okay, I think I'm done. Is it, can you see it? I'll have to flip the camera around. Yeah, it's good. I really enjoy doing this. I think I'd like to work on this larger if I could, and I wish that the sun was out. My favorite thing to do is paint direct sunlight. I kind of fibbed it a little bit up here, but yeah, plein air painting is less about coming up with a beautiful product and more about strengthening. I talk about this in my class, but it's more about like strengthening that connection you have with like your eye and the world around you, and learning how to prune down information and how to translate it. Painting from photograph is great. I do it mostly in my practice, but there's really power to, even if you don't ever publish it, even if it's just like a personal practice, there's a lot of power to like sitting in nature, even if you're just sitting in your car and like trying to paint what you see. You know, I think it's really beneficial to build up that muscle, but it's also really fun. I don't know. I you know, it's a good time of year to try to get out and paint something. I definitely recommend it. Let's see. Are there any more questions on there? Can I answer some?
Beautiful.
Hang
Love
in there.
the process.
You guys are awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to do my little pitch here at the end. I did just launch my plein air course in Not Sorry Art School. It's part of the course. The way the course works is I always add content to Not Sorry Art School, and you know, you buy in once, you get all past content, all future content. Right now, in the the Facebook group, people are voting on what they want to learn next. So we're working on portraits, how to paint water. But the plein air course is amazing. I talk about how to do it safely, supplies you'll need. I go a lot more in depth into building your color palette, how to paint nature, how to paint what you see and not be overwhelmed by it. It's a really fun course. I fell in love with painting from painting plein air, so it's really fun to talk about. And yeah, if you're interested, you can message me if you have questions. I have a Q&A saved to my link in my bio if you're more interested in that. But I had a blast putting it together. And like I said, if you buy the plein air course, it comes with everything else, the fundamentals of painting, and you'll keep getting stuff added to it. So another thing to note is the price is going to go up to reflect the value, so it's never going to be lower than it is now. So yeah, I love the course. I put a lot of love and energy into it, and I really enjoy teaching, and the kids in there are getting really, really good at their painting. So it's fun. If you're curious or on the fence, definitely do it. But thank you guys for being here. I'll post this later, and I hope you enjoy your Saturday, and if you get to get out and paint, I hope you enjoy that too. So thanks.